Hey guys, welcome back to 5 Cent Wax. So happy you can be with us tonight. It's another session of Chattin Wax, and this month's episode is featured around Jeff, a fine card collector, seasoned collector, fellow YouTube content creator, and all around great guy. So you got a good show in store for you tonight. Let's go ahead and bring Jeff on.
Tyler, can you hear me?
Jeff, my friend, sorry I had mute hit on you. I guess I don't want the world to hear you speak.
All good, man. Good. Thanks for having me, dude. This is awesome. It's
Uh,
good to be on with you chatting. I know we talked the one day with as a group, right? And we didn't really get to talk much in person or over camera, but so it's cool that we're kind of doing this little one-on-one.
Well, I'm pumped about it, man. I really enjoy always getting to sit around and get to know everybody better, especially people in the community. And that's really the point of the Chattin Wax series that I kind of came up with, is really just a way for me to connect and meet people with others, but also help everybody that's out there watching also learn a little bit more about the people they watch and just people in the hobby in general. So I must say before we get started, I know you've got a hat on tonight, Jeff, but not only do you have a fine card collection and a fine YouTube channel, you may have the finest set of lettuce in all of YouTube. Can you are you
I
going to
mean,
doff that hat so we can all
I
take it in,
mean,
or
you
what?
know, it's. I mean, I appreciate it. Thank you for the compliment, but I don't know. I when I do my videos and I could like get my hair ready and whatever, because I mean, normally my hair is a mess, right? Like most of the time I wear a hat in life, but I don't know. I started doing my videos and stuff without a hat, and
Yeah.
so it's uh, it's been a thing. But lately I've been wearing more hats in videos and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it's usually a mess. It's I know it looks
I,
great, but it's I mean
I
maybe over the camera sometimes, but it's a mess.
I don't have that problem, Jeff. I couldn't tell you. I mean, is there product there? Is that all natural? I mean,
No, this is pretty much, yeah, I don't see that, and that's part of the reason I grew it long. So my whole life it never really was long. Probably for the past 5 or 6 years it's been long.
yeah.
And because I do it that way so I don't have to put product in it, right? Like I used to always have to do some gel or pomade or whatever it is, but
Yeah.
now it's pretty much just natural. And my wife
Uh,
likes to make fun of it, but it
made for
it is what it
YouTube.
is.
Made for YouTube.
I
Well,
guess, and it's easy. That's the thing. It's easy. So,
well,
but I
I'm
appreciate
glad
it.
that you let us in on your hair secrets. And how are things this evening in sunny California, my friend?
Things are good, man. Things are good. Good day at work. I was just kind of getting ready for this chat, so I was looking through some cards and pulling out some cards. Fed the. I have a dog and a pig, so I made sure I fed them before this, and then poured myself a little bourbon. So
Very
I know
nice.
we had maybe mentioned that you might be. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, I may or may not, for medicinal purposes. I mean, it's cold weather here in East Tennessee. You got to break
Yeah.
up the cold.
Yeah. And you cannot
Yeah,
beat the weather here, so so I'm thankful for that as well.
yeah. Well, for sure. Well, super excited to have you on with me tonight, Jeff. I just for everybody's awareness, you are kind of the creator. Your channel is a fine card collector on YouTube. Of course, you're well known, got a lot of subscribers and always a
Oh
lot of
God.
views, I'm sure. So everybody knows. Not that that's the reason we do it, but just to kind of pinpoint to the fact that you're doing a really good job. A lot of people like your content, like your cards. So I find it interesting whenever I start talking to somebody new and getting to know them a little bit. I may be a little bit nosy, but I've got to kind of get into the background, man.
Sure.
I got to know the story. So
Ask me
we
anything,
were
man. I'm good with it.
we were talking the other night, and of course I gleaned that you are originally from Chicago.
Yeah.
Uh, and I don't know, were you a South Sider, North Side? What part of Chicago?
So I grew up in the west suburbs of Chicago,
Okay.
and so I guess right in the middle, technically, between the north and the south, right?
Yeah.
But I guess I'd call myself a North Sider, right? Because I'm a Cubs fan. So
Yeah. Okay. So that was my next question. So I was guessing that you were a Cubbies fan from way back and probably the Bears.
yeah.
Uh, and so you are growing up in Chicago. I know, you've mentioned on your own episodes or your content before that you have collected cards for a really long time. So obviously you're a sports fan, but at what age or when do you remember actually getting into the hobby for the first time?
Um, I remember, I think so. I think how it started, not necessarily with sports, but I remember like probably being 5 years old. So maybe in around, let's say 1986, starting to get Garbage Pail Kids cards. Right. I remember
Yeah.
my grandma and grandpa always getting me Garbage Pail Kids cards. I wish I kept them, in good condition because those are worth some money too. Um, but I remember that, and then I think that kind of got me into like the card thing, like looking at cards and enjoying cards. But I think it was probably maybe when I was 7 or 8, so probably second grade. I think I remember vividly like second and third grade, really getting into cards. And I remember having friends with cards, and then I remember like at the gas stations and things like that, picking up packs. So I think it was, yeah, probably right around 1987, 1988, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But it started slow, and I wish it didn't because I wish I would have bought a lot of '89 Upper Deck, but I have memories of cards from the late '80s, but I don't necessarily remember Upper Deck so much at that point, and I remember after the fact really wanting the '89 Upper Deck stuff.
Yeah.
But that's about when it started happening, and I guess how it started happening for me.
Yeah. Same for me. So I joke around all the time about, growing up during the junk wax era or the revival. There's a lot of cards from that area, the era that I still love. Of course, both of us, I think, are working our way backwards and have really got into vintage. I think
Hmm.
you probably have some cards you'll show us later on that are kind of from more modern days. You're working your way back,
Yeah.
and you probably branch out a little bit more in your kind of your collecting journey. As far as I'm mainly a baseball collector. I do have some old some vintage football, and I've
Hmm.
got a lot of junk wax basketball and things of that nature. But I think you're probably I know you've got to be a Bulls fan and a Jordan fan as well because I've seen multiple Jordans be shown on your channel, and I love Jordan myself. He was one of my childhood heroes, so I'm interested to see some goodness there. But so you're a kid in Chicago. You're starting to kind of slowly get into collecting. It's late '80s, bleeding into the '90s. Did you stop like a lot of us did? I mean, at middle school, high
Yeah.
school age. That's kind of been my story, and I find a lot of others as well. And then we returned to the hobby later on. But I think you probably came back to the hobby a lot sooner than I did. Is that am I
Yeah.
kind of tracking there?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So yeah, I collected, probably like I said, from second or third grade, so late '80s, until about 19. I think it was probably 1994, when I was in eighth grade. So, or maybe even early 1995. I want to say somewhere in there. I vividly remember because I remember we had moved when I was in eighth grade.
Yeah.
So we moved, and I transferred to a different school, and I remember definitely having cards and like, at lunch and stuff in eighth grade, like some of the guys and whatever else. But that's where I stopped, right? I stopped in eighth grade. I don't remember card collecting at all in high school. Obviously you move on to bigger and better things, in high school. And so yeah, and then high school, college. And then I didn't really get back into it again until my wife, girlfriend at the time, we ended up moving, from Chicago. We ended up moving to California, or LA, Los Angeles, in 2007.
Okay.
And I don't know, and it wasn't right away, but we moved in 2007, and I think it was somewhere early 2008 where I started getting back into it, and I think it had a lot to do with maybe, you know picking up and moving and being away from everything I know, right? All my friends and family and all that kind of stuff. So that was probably a portion of it, right? And kind of being a little homesick and things like that at
Mhm.
first. So finding comfort in something, right? And so how it started was, we were just randomly, at Target, and there's that aisle, that check, that of all the cards by the checkout aisle. And I remember just one day, being at Target a ton, just one day kind of looking and being like, you know what, I'm going to pick up a couple packs of cards. And I think it was 2008, Allen and Ginter.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember just buying a few packs and getting home and opening up the packs. And it just that rush just kind of came back to me, and I don't know if I was a member to eBay before or not, but I don't think I've ever made a purchase on eBay until after that, right? So opening those packs, seeing those cards, getting a couple of the, like inserts, that you might get one per pack or one every few packs. Um, Again, just like that whole nostalgia and something about it came back. And so I was at home, I jumped on eBay, and then I remember just looking up cards that, and one, I didn't know there was as big of a market on eBay as there is or was.
Yeah.
And so I remember going on eBay, looking up cards from the 80s that I always wanted, that I could have only have dreamed of owning back in the late 80s, early 90s, like something like the 86 Donruss Jose Canseco, or the 84, any of the 84 Mattingleys, the Tops or the Donruss, even the Fleer, just things along those lines. And at the time, in like 2008, those were like, you pick those up for like $5, $10,
Yeah.
and that I started buying and I got hooked, and I was all about the 80s, buying just everything that I wanted back, that I wanted in the 80s as a kid. And even years before, I mean, I did have an interest in vintage even
Hmm.
before that, because I had a few experiences when I was a kid collecting in the late 80s, early 90s, where um, I remember my grandma gave me a box of cards that were my dad's old cards, and he didn't even remember them. Like he
Sweet.
he
Yeah.
was he was just like, oh, I didn't even know I had these, but and for the most part they were commons, right? But it looked like probably a bunch of packs were bought
Yeah.
and just thrown into a box. And it was random because there was a whole bunch of 1970s, 71s, and then it skipped a bunch of years. Then it was like 79s and 80s. So I
Right.
don't know why, but that's what there were. But there was, I mean, I remember like that 70 set. I pulled like 5 Thurman Munson rookies out of this box, So it must have been a
Yeah.
lot of. I think that's a first series card, so it must have been like first series stuff. But again, and I didn't know who these players were at the time,
Yeah.
right? I was just like looking up at Beckett's and trying to see, what was worth any sort of money. And then I remember getting to the Thurman Munson, and it was like, I don't know what it was at the time, $100 card or something like that in Beckett, and I had like 5 of them. And I've told this story before, um, but yeah, I had some things like that where
Yeah.
so the 1970 set, the 1971 set are very nostalgic to me for that reason. I had a neighbor who had a Nolan Ryan 1972 that I just wanted so bad from him, and was just willing to give up my whole collection ultimately for it. So these cards just felt so old and just super cool,
Yeah.
so again, getting back into it as an adult, I started after I was kind of buying up the stuff from the 80s that I always wanted. I was right away interested in
Yeah.
going back and buying that stuff in the 70s and, things like that.
Yeah. So you got a whiff of that old cardboard smell, that
Oh, yeah.
perfume, and it just kind of soaked in, right? That's I get it, man. And one of the things that I really love about the hobby is for those of us that collected as a kid and then even had decades away, there is something comforting about cards. You mentioned moving to California, and
Yeah.
not even though you had your wife with you there, that that's you need some comfort in some way and something to kind of reconnect you to your past. And that's my story is very similar. As far as growing up collecting with my brother, getting back in the hobby, but I too. As soon as I kind of took the dive back in at the early part of this year, man, as soon as I kind of caught on to the old cardboard, like I was hooked. And for me, I have an uncle. He's of course still with us, doing well, but he was a collector, and I've told the story on my channel before. But he started collecting in 1962, and
Wow.
I had seen some of his collection as a kid. He kept them in an old hardback suitcase, um, and you know, it's just unbelievable. I mean, when I got back into collecting myself and kind of figuring out what how I wanted to go about starting to acquire, my own part of the collection, to go with what I inherited from him, it was kind of like, I need to get a look at some of those cards. I remember vividly a Rose rookie that he had, and he was so proud of. Still has it. I got to look
Yeah.
at it, but Manels and Mazes and Aaron's, and all from 62 to into 69, 70 era, and he's got them all. They're in great shape. He's got a bunch of them in the binder pages he stuck them in decades ago, and they've been out of light and in a suitcase forever. So it was a thrill going back through it and just reconnecting. But it's just such a great hobby, just the ability it has to, help you connect with people and help you just kind of find home again, and
Yeah.
in certain instances. So I feel everything you're saying there for sure. So I am interested though. Growing up in Chicago, we've mentioned you're a Cubbies fan, a Bears fan, a Bulls fan. I mean,
Mhm.
have you got any Bears or Bulls goodness you can show us hidden there anywhere? I mean,
Sure, sure.
possibly.
So, okay, so you want to start with that stuff. Okay, Bulls, Bears. Did you say Cubs? I don't know if you said Cubs,
Yeah,
but
absolutely. Well, I'm
all
a
right.
Braves fan, but I mean, I'll allow it. Yeah.
So in this works good because what's cool about this stuff is like, growing up over the years and collecting cards, right? I I never really collected a lot of, surprisingly, right? I never really got it, like collected a lot of Cubs stuff or a lot of Bears stuff, even though those are my teams and I'm diehard, Cubs, Bears, Bulls fans, Blackhawk
Hmm.
fan. I'm not going to say I'm a diehard Blackhawk fan, but I'm a Blackhawk fan. Um, I never really collected any of their stuff, right? Except Michael Jordan, right? So Michael Jordan was just, growing up in Chicago in the 90s. I mean, you just couldn't help but just be a huge fan of Jordan, and me and all my friends alike always collected Jordan. So I've always collected Jordan, and I don't think he was ever like, when I was younger, he was a focus of mine, right? But as I
Right.
got older and started collecting again in 2008, he was never really a focus so much of mine. But it's like he's always kind of like there, and it's just things. If I see some stuff, I'll pick some stuff up of his, and I have. But yeah, it's like, so it's not till recently that I started to want to do some of these Bulls, Bears, Cubs collections, right?
Hmm.
And so for me, uh, the three collections, and I've talked about this on my videos in the past, but um, I'm doing the '85, Chicago Bears team, right? So that '86 Super Bowl team.
Yeah.
So I'm collecting all of their cards, right? And how I'm doing that is I'm doing them all PSA. I just decided to do them all graded. Um, and so I'm doing those, and it's either going to be, luckily most of their rookie cards are on the Bears
Yeah.
team. So if their rookie is on the Bears, I'm buying their rookie card, and then if it's not on the Bears, I'm just buying their first Bears card, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, it may evolve because these other kind of collections have evolved. But all right, let's start with some Bears. You want to see some Bears stuff real quick, and I'll go through them fairly quick, right? But I'll start with
Oh,
this, and I don't know where I should position this. Normally, I was kind of doing it on my screen. It's
that's good. Right there. Yep.
right there. All right. So yeah, just the Walter Payton, of course, right, from that team. So that's his rookie. I mean, that's kind of the probably the obviously the best card in this little collection here. But so you got the Walter Payton there. And then I pulled out, just some other of the Hall of Famers and maybe one not non Hall of Famer. But you got the Mike Singletary.
Hmm.
So Mike Singletary, that's his rookie card. So great player for those Bears. You got the Richard Dent rookie card. So his 85. Sorry, I'm trying to find the spot there. There we go. But so Richard Dent rookie, that's the 85 tops. And then in Dan Hampton, another Hall of Famer. So that's his 81 tops rookie, which I actually sent a TTM out to him this card actually. So I'm hoping he sends it back. We'll see. And then two more from the Bears, real quick. So the Jim McMahon, not a Hall of Famer, but just an iconic player, obviously, of that Bears team. And then I can't show these without showing the refrigerator Perry.
The
So
fridge.
the fridge. So, and then I got the other stuff, and I'm not done with. It's more about finding them graded, because there's just you just can't find them graded like
Right.
some of the lesser players. So the Bears stuff, I decided to do that PSA graded just because there was a lot of those I wanted graded anyway. Because the Hall of Fame stuff I like graded, so I did that. And then Bulls, right? I don't collect any new Bulls, anything like that. I strictly like the Bulls teams from, those championship seasons, right? Like 91, 92, 93, and then 96, 97, 98, right? They had the
Right.
two three peats in 8 years. And so I'm collecting the players from those. So I'm doing those in just my Mag Pros, right? So raw, but I have labels for those. And so here's just the Jordan that I have for that set, right? But that's the Jordan. It's his 88 Fleer, All Star. Um, but those are the labels that I'm doing for him. So it's just the Chicago Bulls. Sorry, you want me to tilt this any better? I don't know.
No,
But
you can bring it back towards you a little bit. It might show it better. There you go.
yeah,
Oh, a little bit more.
a little bit more back.
Yeah, back towards you. We'll get the whole
All
card in. There we go.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, that's the labels for my Bulls, right? And this is just again the Jordan that I'm representing in this. Um, but yeah, so just I had them, or actually I had them. I created the labels, but I had Mag Pro put them in their template, and it's cool on the back. It's shows the Bulls logo, and yeah, I should just hold
Yeah.
it still, and you could do your zoom in thing, huh?
Yeah.
Um,
Very nice.
and just some information, right? But my bull stuff and how I'm doing that, and here's a Scottie Pippen rookie, from that, and um, and so what I'm doing with that is it's like two cards per player, right? It's everybody on the team from the first three championships and the second championships. The what I want is again same thing kind of as the Bears, right? It's like I want their rookie card if the rookie card is on the Bulls, and
Yeah.
if it's not on the Bulls, I just want their first Bulls card. But then I've kind of been getting into this like autograph thing, right? And so I've been buying some of these guys some of their autographs as well. So for instance, there's a set here, this Skybox Autographics. So here's a Steve Kerr auto. It's an early, pack pulled autograph, right? I think it's a
Right.
90, it's a 96 Skybox Premium Autographics. So Steve Kerr pulled autograph. I don't know if you remember Tony Kukoc.
Oh man, I used to love Kukoc.
He was awesome. He was just such a great player for that team. But again, a pack pulled auto from the 96 Skybox Autographics set. And there was no BJ Armstrong at that time, but I have a BJ Armstrong, kind of a newer 2000s auto, but that's just a little sample, if you will, of like the Bulls stuff that I'm doing too, right? So some of
Man,
that stuff.
well, first of all, even going back to your Bears collection, like I have to have a Peyton rookie. I love that
Yeah,
card.
I
Such a
know.
good image of him. And then like McMahon, uh, I love hearing stories about McMahon and really that whole '85 Bears team because they were just wild men, right?
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, you
Have you
had
seen
Buddy.
the, Have you seen the documentary? There's a I don't know if it's a 30 for 30. I don't think it's a 30 for 30. I think it's just called like 85 Bears or something along those lines on
Yeah,
ESPN.
I have. It's a really
Uh,
good documentary. But I
it's
mean, you had
so good.
Buddy Ryan and his
Yes.
defense going against Dick in the offense. It was
Yes.
like I think it was like a war in practice, but man, they could come together on Sundays when they needed to. So
Oh yeah.
they were great. And then moving on to the Bulls. So like I used to love everything about the Bulls during that era.
Yep.
The music they played as they
Oh,
made the announcements. I
that
can't remember the name.
intro.
Yeah, it escapes me.
Yes.
But loved it. And Jordan, like I said, he was I still love Michael Jordan, but I mean, when I was a kid, I mean, he was one of my kind of the guys that I just really followed and looked up to. And I remember, I think it was the old Upper Deck set. I should have pulled some of my Jordan stuff, but
Yeah.
the when he had kind of retired and gone to the baseball route, there
Uh-huh.
was a couple of his baseball cards, and it was
Yep.
like the hunt was on, man, to find those back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And
Well,
so I've got all those and some other stuff, and then I actually pulled. It was one of my last episodes, or maybe it was the one with Garrett. It may have actually been the first Chattin Wax that I did with Garrett Wells. At the end, I pulled a couple of BJ Armstrong
you
signatures
did. You
from my
did.
brothers. And Garrett's so young, he may not have even known who BJ Armstrong was, but I was excited about it.
Oh, dude, that would have been a. There's some like again, I've never been. I've always wanted to do the TTM thing, right? Like I've seen guys over the years, and I wish I would have done it so long ago. You know, you have players that do it and pass away, and players that do it and just no longer do it, right? But I've wanted to do it for years, and I just really never knew much about it. And then I got some help. There's some guys that reached out to me and kind of really gave me the details on how to do it. And so I started doing it, and it's a total different experience. Like, knowing going on eBay and buying a card or wherever you're buying a card from, and it's showing up in the mail. That's exciting, right? Mail days are always exciting. But when you have a card that you sent out to somebody hoping to get back, and you get it back, and opening up those envelopes and seeing those autographs on it, like there's just something. If you're not doing TTMs, you just don't understand, right? Like
Yeah,
there is something so thrilling about that. It's just super cool, And so,
yeah.
yeah, those BJ Armstrongs for sure. Those were awesome pulls.
Well,
Um,
I want to loop back around to your TTMs towards the end of the show because I've
yeah,
seen some of the stuff you've done so far and some of the cards you got back, and you're off to a great start. But hold
yeah,
that
thanks.
thought. We'll loop back around because I want to go more in detail on that
Okay.
a little bit later.
Well, let me
But oh,
let
go
me
ahead.
do one more thing, just because you cut me off before my Cubs. So
Oh,
you didn't cut me off. You didn't cut me off. I just want to show it because I got them right here. Um,
absolutely.
and not like anybody else here probably wants to see cup stuff, but no, the other thing is, like I said, with these little collections that I'm doing, right, is like the 2016 World
Yeah.
Series cups, right? And like, okay, going back to the Jordan thing really quick, right? I know a lot of people love Jordan, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm a bigger Jordan fan than anybody else out there, right? But like, I don't like Jordan because he's the GOAT, right? Like the greatest of all time or anything like that. Like I love Jordan because he was like a hometown hero. Like I was a Bulls
Yeah.
fan, and he was the best player on the Bulls, and he was the best player in the world, and it was just like I'm not a Jordan fan because he's the greatest and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, yeah, I'm a Jordan fan because he is all that and exciting to watch.
Right.
But it's like, but I was growing up in Chicago at that time. And I mean, it was huge, So, um, and then so to kind of segue into the Cubs, right? Like, I don't collect necessarily Cubs throughout the years, right? I mean, I love some of the Cubs players, like when I was a kid, DeAndre Dawson and Ryan Sandberg and Mark Grace, and even like Sean Dunston and some of those guys.
Yeah.
And then there's some of the guys from like the 2003 team, where they went to the NLCS, and the whole Steve Bartman whatever. But
Incident.
that
Yep.
that team was special. But it's like, I don't collect any of that. But the 2016 Chicago Cubs team was obviously, it was their first World Series in 108 years or whatever it was, and so it was a special team. But I think what also made that team special was that like it just had so much young talent that came up through the farm system that just kind of made that team special, right? It wasn't like, and I'm not taking away any World Series championships from any other teams, right? But
Mhm.
I mean, that Cubs team, I mean, they didn't have any star players that came from other teams, right? Like, okay, they had Jason Hayward, who had a big contract. But, they didn't really have any big name star players on that team, except the guys that came up kind of through their farm system, like Chris Bryant and Kyle Schwarber, Anthony Rizzo. Sure, he was good, I mean, he played for the Brewers, or he came up through the Red Sox organization, played for the Brewers for part of the season and was traded to the Cubs. And so he made his name with the Cubs. So he kind of came up through the Cubs. So again, the Cubs just have that was just a special year from the for the Cubs, So it was so I collect that team as well. And I'm kind of doing the same thing, right? Like I'm how it started was all I wanted was 2 cards from every player, which is kind of still how it is, but I want just 1 card with them on the Cubs team. So like their first card as a Cub or their first year or so as a Cub. And then their rookie card, right? And then as you start doing that, it evolves, right? And so I've started picking up autographs, right? Like auto rookies. And I've got into like their first Bowman Chrome card autos. And so let me just show a few Cubs and then we'll move right on. So for instance, the Jason Hayward, right? Like I was talking about, and this is just a good example of like what I'm typically doing for each of these guys. So Jason Hayward, this is just his 2016 Topps archives, right? Just basic card, but him on the Cubs, throwback to the 53 Topps, right? And that's the label that I created for Mag Pros with this Cubs thing, and just the info on the back. So I have that Jason Hayward, and then this is his. It's not technically his first Bowman Chrome because he doesn't have a first Bowman Chrome auto, but it's his next year. So it's a Bowman Chrome draft refractor auto.
Yeah.
So just a beautiful card, and that's kind of how I'm doing it, right? Every player, one of their cards on the Cubs and a auto, right?
Yeah.
Ideally like a rookie auto. But then my 3 favorite that I have so far, and I've showed this recently, but you're Kyle Schwarber, uh, rookie auto, right? First Bowman Chrome
Very nice.
auto. Yeah, I mean, Kyle Schwarber is just incredible.
He,
Uh,
he's a
Chris,
beast. I think beast is the right term for
yeah,
sure.
he is a beast. And doesn't he have some stat like he's the first player with like or he has more home runs in his first like 1,000 hits than any other player in history. So like out of his first 1,000 hits, I think he has like I forgot what his home run total is, but it's
Yeah.
something kind of crazy. Like, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. It's like he's either striking out or hitting home runs, basically. But he's great. But then this Chris Bryant, same thing. Not a unfortunately for the Rockies. He's had a tough go for the Rockies, but he was an amazing player for the Cubs. So here's his, Bowman Chrome, first Bowman Chrome auto refractor as well. So I love that. I love Chris Bryant. I'll always love him. He was just a great player for the Cubs. And then Anthony Rizzo. So not a refractor. One day I'll find one, but again, his first Bowman Chrome, auto.
Yeah. Very
So
nice.
yeah, so that's kind of like what my little Chicago stuff, and then the Jordan stuff, of
Yeah.
course, as well. But
Well, that's awesome, man. And I did not, believe it or not, even though I kind of was pointing to my hat when the comment about me cutting you off was made. I was not trying to cut you off.
no,
But
I was totally kidding. You didn't
I,
cut me off.
oh, I'm just messing. I'm pumped though that you showed those to us, man, because I think you did have done a video recently just on the 2016 Cubs, if I'm not mistaken.
Not
Uh,
not not a video just on that team, but I have brought that up
right.
probably
I
quite a bit.
I remember
And I've
seeing.
and I showed the Kyle Schwarber because that's a recent pickup.
Yeah.
So I've showed that, and yeah, I probably talked about it maybe a little too much, but hey, I'm a Cubs fan. I
Hey
love
man,
that team. So
hey man, talk about whatever you want to. That's the beauty of the YouTube universe. It's your channel, so you can you can do whatever you want to do.
pretty much.
Yeah, so that's all awesome stuff, and I must say your Mag Pro label game is pretty solid. I mean that's some strong design you got going on there. Those look good.
Yeah, well, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to reach out to, and I haven't yet, but that's my goal is to reach out to everybody that does these like Mag Pros that are doing like their own custom Mag Pros. I'm trying to reach. I want to reach out to all these guys and be like, let's trade. Let's trade some Mag Pros. Like,
Yeah,
I want some of your channel Mag Pros in my collection. I'll send you some of mine. I think
yeah,
it's really fun. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's just a fun way, right? Like when you have these different collections, it's just a fun way to kind of keep them organized together. And what I like about even more is like on the backs, right, where I'm like customizing them. Like, um, I have a ton of Michael Jordan cards, right, and I don't know what all the cards are, right, and so
mhm,
like if I'm trying to figure out if there's a new Jordan that I need or things that I'm missing, it's like I don't know what I have and what I don't have. And even when you look on the backs, like it's hard to really tell like what year it is and what set it's from. And so the great thing about it is it's like I can look it up one time, figure out what it is, and then as I'm making the label for it, I put the info on the back. And now forever that card is slabbed with what that card is on the back. So I know what it
yeah.
is, and so there's a lot of reasons, but I mean it's more so for the fun kind of categorizing them, but it's also to know what it is and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, I think it's awesome, man. They look really
Thank
good.
you.
So,
Thank
so
you.
keep up the good work there. So
Thanks,
we
man.
we have determined that your the Chicago related part of your collection is pretty vast and a nice collection. I happen to know from your videos and from the talks that we've had leading up to this video,
Mhm.
you have got the post-war rookie bug as well. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing this is kind of where that love of old cardboard started coming to play when you started collecting the post-war vintage rookies. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, it started with the 80s, right? And I think, and I'm sure uh this is the same that kind of everybody goes through, right? But like the 80s, right? I wanted all the 80s rookies of the players, that I wanted when I was a kid. So I bought all that stuff, right? And then it brings you into the 70s because all of those players like Ozzie Smith and uh, George Brett and Robin Yount and Carlton Fisk and
Yeah.
Dave Parker, Dave Winfield, all these guys, right? That I watched and followed in the 80s and would collect their cards in the 80s. All the rookies are in the 70s, right?
Right.
So then, you start venturing into the 70s, buying their rookies in the 70s. And I don't know when it was. I mean, it was pretty early on in my, collecting career as an adult, right? Um, where I finally realized that PSA had set registries and there was a registry for all of the Hall of Fame rookie cards, and that's right up my alley. Like I there are aspects of my collection that I like to collect and things that I like to collect, but ultimately I like to think that I just like iconic cards, right? And I like cards that are not iconic, but I just feel like every Hall of Fame player, their rookie card is an iconic card.
Right.
And so when I saw that checklist, it was like, I'm not a set collector, but it's kind of fun to collect registry sets. And so I started doing that. And, there was some other ones that I was doing and as of recent was doing, decided to kind of not do so much anymore. But yeah, I mean, the Hall of Fame players, post-war rookies, throughout my collecting as an adult, even when I'd sell my collection and start again and sell it and start again, I always would go back to that. That's always the first thing I'd go back to. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's my favorite. It's my favorite set.
Well, and I think there's a lot of people. It kind of depends on what everybody likes as a collector. Some people don't like rookie cards. Some do. I think there is kind of the rookie tax that you pay on a lot of these cards. I love post war rookies. I'm actually doing the same run. I'm using the registry as my checklist, though they're
Yeah,
not all PSA. I've got some
mine either.
HFC as well.
Right.
But I actually think my love of rookie cards started with the '89 Upper Deck Griffey. Uh,
Mm.
because that was the card
Yeah.
to go get. Like when I
Oh,
was
for
growing
sure.
up, and like when we finally pulled that card, we pulled it from a pack. I've still got it, but
Um,
when we pulled it, it was like and like so. I think that's probably where it comes from. But you also touched on the thing I think is so interesting is there are certain players that, especially if you work back from like the early '80s backwards. Carl Yastrzemski is a good example.
mhm.
His career. So rookie rookie season in 1960, the iconic 1960 tops, rookie card of his. I think the latest card in his career I have is probably an 81 tops, and I think I don't know what year he retired, but that's obviously getting pretty
Yeah.
close.
Yep.
Um, but so you're spanning right there just in those two cards, his rookie and that 81 tops I have. 21 years of baseball and history and just a player's career. And so
Yeah.
you really can't help but get sucked backwards in time. It's kind of as you start down the rabbit hole, especially if you're a baseball fan and you like the history of the game. And to me, and it's of course everybody knows this, but history is baseball history is just kind of a reflection of American history and our
100%.
culture and everything that goes with that. So it's just such an interesting thing. But I really enjoy picking up new post-war rookies when I can. So is there if you I don't know if you have any of those pulled, or there anything you'd like
Of
to show from
course.
that run?
Of course. All right. So, but as you know, well, I think as you know, I don't have, I'm working my way back, right? And I
Right.
stay focused in a decade before I move on to the next decade. And I've had a lot of them in the past, like, the 50s stuff. I've had almost all of them, right? But I've sold them off and whatnot. But right now, I just finished the 60s. And so I, I am I'm technically about to start, getting into the 50s,
50s.
right?
Yeah.
So I don't have anything in the 50s to show, but I mean, I could show I think some of the best stuff. You want to see some of the best stuff in the 60s, in
Yeah,
my
man.
opinion?
Show me your faves.
Okay, let's show you the one, two, three, four. All right, I'm going to show you five from the 60s. One's not a Hall of Famer, and I'm sure you know what it is, but I got to show it because he's going to be a Hall of Famer. So, one card. All right, one card. I love this card. This card, I overpaid for it at the time, but the centering was perfect, and so I had to buy this one.
Yeah.
I mean, just the centering, and this is like one card that I feel like is like notoriously always somehow off center. So, is my name covering up part of this, or should I move it over
There
here?
you're good right there, man.
Okay. Um, but I just love the centering on this card when I bought it, and I was like, all right, this is a card I have to get. So, yeah, so that's the obviously the Reggie 69, and then going back a year is card from my,
Oh,
like my childhood, right? I remember this card. The reason I remember this card is there was a whole, like, I grew up in a town, well, I lived in a town called Addison, Illinois, and there was a card shop that it made like news or local news that a card shop owner or somebody at a card shop sold this card. I think it was listed for like $1,200 or $1,400 back in, again, probably around 1990, 91. And somebody went in and bought it, and the person that was working behind the behind the counter thought it was $12 or $14. So they
hmm.
sold it for $12 or $14 when it should have been 1,200 or 1,400. And I just remember it made news, and it was just such an iconic card for me. So I just, again, card I just have to have, right? So that's the Nolan Ryan. Uh,
That's a beautiful copy too that you
yeah,
have.
thanks, man. I thought so too. I bought that. I bought it in 2024 at the Cleveland National, and then two more, both graded 6.5s, so nice grades. The Rod Carew, the
Mhm.
67, nicely centered Carew, older slab, but just it was nicely centered, beautiful card. So that's one of the bigger ones, right, of the 60s. And then from the same set, same thing, another big one from the 60s, that 67 high number Tom Seaver rookie, beautifully centered, 6.5. Yeah, so again, I picked this one up, I think also at the 2024 National in Cleveland as well. And then so that's some of the post-war rookie stuff, right? And then I have to show this just because I'm showing some 60s stuff. But this was a card I had to
Oh,
talk talk
The
my
Rose
wife.
rookie. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
I had to
Terrence.
talk my wife into allowing me to buy that, right? But he passed away obviously, and they lifted the ban. And I know there's people, it's 50-50, right? Some people think he should be in, some people think he shouldn't be in. I'm just kind of along the lines, and even some of the players, the PED, players,
Yeah.
it's just like it. I just feel like they're too big of a name in baseball, and they have their, like he's the hit king, right? Like, regardless, I understand he basically agreed that he would never be in the Hall of Fame, right? But it's just like, he's the hit king. He's super collected, super popular. He's been around baseball, and in his later years, did he work for, I don't know, if it wasn't MLB, right? But it was one of the networks that he
Mhm.
worked for, and he would commentate. And it's just like, he's been around baseball. Like, give the guy a break. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, I know it's 50-50 out there, but I just think he's too big of a name in baseball and in the hobby to leave out of the Hall of Fame, right? And I,
Yeah.
I just think he belongs there. And so I just, love that card.
I agree, and I mean, to the other players that been caught up in the same kind of thing. I mean, back to Shoeless Joe is the one that I really think of. Joe Jackson with the 1919 Black Sox scandal. Um, would just love to see them make it in, and
Yeah.
hopefully they do. But time will tell. But
Yeah.
uh, you're off to a great start as you barrel back towards the 50s. So I probably need to be more like you, where you stay in a decade and stay centered. Uh, I stay kind of, I do good staying in the post-war rookie kind of that swim lane. But then I found the cards of the mid 50s and fell in love with the tops from that era, obviously, as they kind of became
Yeah.
king. And after the card wars with Bowman, and they kind of came out on top. That 55 set's pretty pivotal, and it's my favorite. So I had to kind of go down that rabbit hole and start putting that together. But then I find myself seeing other cards that I just love Hall of Famers, and so I'll stumble on cards from other years and other sets that I eventually want to have the Hall of Fame runs for as many of those sets as I can, and so I'll go ahead and kind of buy when I come across good deals or cards that really catch my eye.
Yeah.
But I think you're going about it the right way, and even with me, I being in the golden era, and when I kind of get finished up with getting the rookie cards that I can in that post war run. I mean, I'm going to have to kind of snap a chalk line because I really want to keep going backwards and get into pre-war. But if I just stay all over the map, I don't feel like I'm ever going to get there. So I probably need to develop a game plan like yourself. So
Well, yeah, and that was, and hey, to each his own, right? We all have our different ways we collect. Um, but for me, it was just something where it's like, I know everything I want, and it's just like, if I don't stay focused in kind of like one decade, I'm gonna be all over the place too.
yeah,
And so that's what, and it's hard because the 50s. I mean, I love the 80s, and I always talk about it. Like, I love the 80s. Those are the most nostalgic cards for me.
hmm
But the 50s are just the most beautiful cards, right? Like,
they are.
the 50s, and I'm kind of now I'm there, right? I have everything I'm not going to say I have everything I want in the 60s, but I have all the Hall of Fame players, post-war rookies from the 60s. And so now I'm into the 50s, and I want to start buying that stuff up. So
Yeah,
it's like, I'm going to be there for a long time. That stuff's expensive.
it is. Yeah,
It's crazy expensive. Looking at the cards now compared to when I used to buy them, right? Because I haven't looked at the cards in the 50s for probably, I got this new collection that I'm doing, again from like 2021. I probably sold most of my collection off in like 2019, 2020, started again in 2021. And so I haven't looked at anything from the 50s in, 4+ years, probably longer. And God, I just remember, buying, like, okay, let's say 1959, right? The first card on my list from the 50s, if I'm working back, 1959 Bob Gibson, right?
yeah,
I remember that card. I've bought that card multiple times, right, in my life. I've owned a five, a PSA 5. I've owned a PSA 6. I've owned a PSA 6.5. But when I bought those, I mean, PSA 5s, I remember for years, it was like 180 to a $220 card, right? For
Right.
years, 180 to 220, somewhere in there. And I forgot the 6 or 6.5, maybe closer to 300. But now, looking at a PSA 5, that's like an $800 card, you
Yeah.
know? And I'm just
Yeah.
like, Jesus, like this is, I'm going to be, and not that I'm going to be, I've been pretty focused on like buying sevens in the 70s and sixes in the 60s. And I'd like to say fives in the 50s because that's what I've always done.
Hmm.
Um, but I just don't think that's probably realistic, with where prices are right now.
Yeah.
I'd have to wait a long time. And it's just like, hey, if I could find a nice two, three, four,
Yeah.
I'm going to go for it, So,
Well, and I'm with you, and that's kind of the same kind of, kind of standards I follow, if you will. But what I found with the whole eye appeal thing, that whole revelation is the tough part. I find is that you may find a four that is just a banger of a four, right? And so it may be priced at a five or six level, depending on the dealer and where he is, kind of on the spectrum of comps and pricing. And so then you run into the whole, should I just buy a five or a six? You
yeah,
know what I mean? If
yeah,
I'm gonna if I'm gonna
I
spend
know.
that money on a banging four, why don't I just find a true technical five or six? So I don't know. It's a never ending thing, and of course, I know there's been a lot in the hobby recently about prices and are we on a bubble and just a lot of other
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
I personally am just trying to make the best decisions I can when I come across a card I want. And then, in some
yeah.
cases that means I wait, and in some cases it means I can go ahead and get something. That's the only way I know to approach it. But
That's all you can
uh,
do.
so we did talk a little bit about we've talked a lot about the 80s and how nostalgic that is to you. If I had to ask you to show one card from the
Ooh.
80s
Oh,
that is your, okay, let's go two cards. Make it a little easier that
I
you
pulled like
consider.
10. I pulled like
I,
10. Come on.
I know I'm really gonna make you narrow this down because
I
I
know,
want
I
to
know, I
know
know, I know, I know.
what is the favorite or the most two iconic cards that you have in your collection from that era.
Oh man. All right. Hang on. All right. I think there's actually probably more than 10. And I didn't plan on showing them all, of course, but I just had pulled them. Um, all right. Well, okay. I have to show this. I've showed it. I've showed it like on a live stream before, right? But it's just cards like you don't see very often. All right, let me do this. Let me just show three like things, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Griffey, right? Yes, the 89 upper deck, iconic card, right? Um, but what I love, okay, I'm gonna cheat here, is I love these three Griffies, right? And these three, it's gonna be, but they're the Tiffany or the Glossies, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to position. Sorry, I'm moving and probably you're moving, but
There we go.
so I mean, even better than the upper deck, you got the Bowman Tiffany Griffey, right? Which is a big card. I mean,
Hmm.
that's an expensive card. But it's just, more so than that, it's just cool. I don't know how many sets, like under 10. I don't know if it was 10,000 or 7,500 or 5,000 were produced of this. But that's the Bowman Tiffany Griffey, and then you got the Tops Tiffany Griffey, Tops Traded Tiffany Griffey, and then you got the Fleer Glossy Griffey. So those in the upper deck, I would say are the Griffies, right? Like you want those.
Yeah.
And then I'd have to show this, right? It's like just a card that I think is stupidly too expensive for what it is. But it's just a card that I had to buy when I bought it, right? And that's do you know this card? The 87 Donruss opening day. It's the,
Bonds.
but it's, yeah, but it's not the Bonds. It's the Johnny Ray Error.
I have not seen that card. I'm going to be honest with you. That's
Okay,
awesome.
all right. So it's a tough card, right? Like, these came in complete sets, and when they first started producing these, they thought Johnny Ray, this image was Barry Bonds, and so it's the Johnny Ray Barry Bonds error, and so it's a tough card, and again, kind of a stupidly expensive card, because it's you just don't see them very often, right? So that error card, and then I'm going to do the same thing I did with the Griffies. Let's show a not vintage, but a rainbow of Mattingly's, right?
Oh, Donnie Ball
So
game.
you got the okay. Let's see what this is. You got just the tops, right? The standard tops Mattingly, and then you got the Tiffany Mattingly. So you got the Tiffany, and then you got the OPC Mattingly, and then you have the Nestle Mattingly.
Very
So
nice.
and kind of fun, kind of fun that they're all like 8.5s, or whatever.
Yeah.
However, sorry, I'm doing a bad job. I apologize showing these, but you know the uh the 8.5s. So I don't know, kind of fun.
That's awesome, man. I should have looked. I imagine there's a mini rush on Donnie Mattingly rookie cards or such
Who
uh,
knows?
as we come up on this Hall of Fame vote. But
Oh,
man,
I mean, I have a gut feeling he's going to make it.
I hope he does. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I do
really do.
too. I do too. I think I just feel like him, and I don't know about the other guys. It's tough. There's part of me that feels like Don Mattingly and Dale Murphy are gonna make it. I feel like there's so much just always just talk around them and how they should be in the Hall of Fame, and I don't know. Again, I don't know about the other guys who are kind of linked to PEDs and all that kind of stuff, but I have a feeling Mattingly and Murphy are gonna make it, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, Jeff, of course, we only got a small glimpse of your collection, but it is definitely a fine collection from a fine card collector.
I try. I try.
We touched on this earlier, and I said let's loop back around, but we started talking about your interest and your dive into the TTM world, and
Oh yeah.
I have watched your how-to video on TTMs. I haven't sent anything through the mail myself. Of course,
Hmm.
if anybody watches my channel, and as you're aware, I've got my brother was a TTM freak, and so just a fanatic, and so I'm working my way through some of his stuff. But you did a phenomenal job with your how-to. I would recommend anybody out there watching that has an interest in TTMs or whether you're going to get into it or not, go watch the video because you did a great job of breaking it down. And then you're doing
Thanks.
some really cool the best 3 minutes on YouTube, I think, is your TTM reveals where I love watching those videos as you get, mail days and as these cards come back in and you do the reveal. You do such a good job with that, man. And I hope you keep it up because it really appears you're having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before earlier in this video, I don't think there's any thrill like the TTMs, right? Like you get cards in the mail, mail days are fun, you know what you're buying. But when you have cards coming back like that you sent out to somebody hoping that they send it back to you to sign and they do, there's just something that's so thrilling about that and exciting about that. And I don't know, it's really exciting. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate it. I appreciate the the kind words on the video. And yeah, it was just like I know there's guys out there that have done it. I'm sure there are plenty of videos out there with guys who have shown how to's. I just haven't seen them, right? And that's why I waited for so long to do TTMs because I didn't really know the whole process. So, Alan at Just Cards, like he explained and spelled it all out for me. And so I started doing it, and then I'm like, I'm going to do a video on it. So that's why I did it. And yeah, it's been a fun journey for sure.
Yeah. Well, I've certainly enjoyed having you on tonight and hearing your story, learning more about you. I hope for all the good folks that watch, it's been a small glimpse into helping them get to know you a little bit better as a collector in the hobby and a content creator. If I could ask, since we're so near Christmas and coming up on New Year's here very shortly, What's your plans going into 2026? I mean, we know you're working your way back into the 50s.
Yeah.
Are you by chance going to make it to Strongsville? Are you planning on going to the
Oh yeah.
national next year? National next year, is all that up in the air, or what's your plans?
Okay, well, Strongsville 100%. So Strongsville, I already have my hotel booked and my flight booked. So and I'm saving, right? So Strongsville is 100%. I will be at Strongsville. So I'm really looking forward to that, right? Because I went to the national last year and I met a lot of the YouTubers and other folks there. And but I heard Strongsville is like just a so many more guys are there and it's such a smaller show where you're just interacting so much more, so really looking forward to that. And I'm really just going to meet the guys, right? Like it's costing me like $1,200 out of pocket just to get there, and it's just like I'd rather put that towards cards.
Yeah.
But so for me it's really just going and meeting everybody and getting to hang out and all that kind of stuff, but definitely doing Strongsville. Chicago, I don't know. I feel like I could pass on the national. Like the national was fun last year, and in Cleveland it was fun. But I feel like with Strongsville, I feel like I could do that and be good for 2026. But I might go because my family's in Chicago and it's easy for me. My brother lives like 15 minutes from the national, so it's easy for me
Nice.
to get. It's easy for me to get there. So I might go. We'll see. That's not set in stone yet. But yeah, fifth next year is ultimately, yeah, probably focused on the 50s. I'll probably be in the 50s all year, right? With picking up some miscellaneous stuff from these little other collections that I have, and and then trying to focus a little bit more on some of the more iconic stuff that I want in my collection. So maybe even different sports or earlier than the 50s, things like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's my goal.
Awesome. Well, I'm booked at Strongsville as well, so I'm looking forward to connecting with you and a lot of others
Nice, man.
there, and getting to meet a
Awesome.
lot of you guys for the first time. So, Jeff, as you know, and since we just got through talking TTM, I end every one of my episodes by opening up a few envelopes myself. Would
Yep.
you so honor me to open these up with you
Let's
from my
do it.
Rose collection?
Let's do it.
All right. So, envelope number one. And I should do this on every one. I don't know why I don't, but to give you guys at home an idea, I'm going to start reading the postmark dates and where these are coming from, just to give you an idea so how old some of these are. But this particular one is from March 10th of 2010 is the post date on it, and it's coming from San Diego, California. So up
Hey,
your way. So we'll see here.
it's not gonna be the San Diego chicken, is it? That'd be pretty
I
sweet.
wish, man. That's a sweet card. You've got a sweet signature of the San Diego
Yeah,
chicken.
yeah.
So we had so a Charger great that I remember from my
Okay.
childhood. What about Natrone Means?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
God, I
Chargers
remember
running
him.
back. Yeah, I remember on Natrone.
Oh yeah. Natron means for
That's
sure.
that's on a 99 score. Nice blue Sharpie signature.
God, you know what I gotta start doing? I gotta start taking notes of everything that you're pulling and see if those guys still do
Still signed.
TPMs.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I would love to send a Natron means for sure.
yeah. Okay, number two, we have, I'm going to use this one right here. Postmark here, number two, if I can read it, looks like is from 5th of May 2010, and this is coming from Quad Cities, Illinois. This has
Yeah.
a Davenport, Iowa. This is not one my brother had himself listed as the return address on. So this is coming from Davenport, Iowa. So, and there's an index card in here too. Should be interesting.
Probably one they sent back. I've sent some index cards, and you write really nice things about them,
And they're like,
and then
ah,
and then they just send it back, and you're like,
like
oh, all right.
so. This is nice. This is gonna be catch the eye of some of my Cardinals buddies, like Joe Redneck Collector and Nerding Out with Cards and
Nerding out with
some other.
cards.
So we have Matt Adams, uh,
Ah,
first Bowman
that's a good one.
signed.
That's a good one.
I remember Matt Adams. Yeah.
Oh, and his signature looks just like the
The
facsimile.
facsimile, yeah. That's
Yeah,
sometimes they look nothing alike, so that's a good one.
right, right.
And
That's
the
cool.
index card, he actually wrote on the index card. Let me grab it. Okay. So index card, it says my brother wrote, "Thank you, Mr. Adams. God bless." 1 John 5:4, Romans 6:23, which he always that was
Mm.
always the kind of thing he wrote. So Matt says, "I like the poem, even though you're dissing my pirates." So my brother was a writer of poetry. So apparently he was dissing on the Pirates at some point. And I don't know if that means that Adams had moved on by the time I guess he had from the Cardinals when he sent this card off. But it said, "If I can do anything for you, just let me know, Matt A." So that's pretty cool. Nice
Oh,
little
that's
personal
cool.
touch.
That's cool when I love when they write on something else other than signing the card.
Yeah.
So I had Scott Williams from my like early '90s Bulls.
Mhm.
Scott Williams sent me like wrote on the cardboard kind of protector that I send the cards in. He had
Yeah.
wrote on that. He had signed that as well and signed it back, you know. And I think it's super cool when they do that. So
Nice. Yeah.
yeah,
It's kind of a nice personal touch that it
it
adds.
is. It is.
So number 3, we have this postmark on this one. I believe it says 23rd May 2003. And that says
Wow.
Research Triangle region, North Carolina. So if you're talking Raleigh, Durham, that area over there. We have. I can actually see this one. This one's facing me. I remember Shane Victorino,
Oh yeah, I remember him too.
the Flying Hawaiian.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And that's
So
a nice
top.
card for him to sign too, like that
Yeah.
58 tops.
Topps Heritage. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Shane Victorino. Wow, I haven't thought of that name in
I,
forever.
that's the beauty of going through these envelopes. It's
Yeah,
like walk back through time. So
yeah.
anyway, that's pretty awesome. I'm happy with those. So those will go over here. I think I'm either gonna put a binder together. I've already got one binder of autographs. I need to do a show on to show you some of my brother's other autographs that I think it's a collection through the mail. Some of it I remember him getting at shows we went to as kids. But and it hit me when we were talking earlier, the Mag Pros and the labels you do. I think I need to get some Mag Pros made with a label that like denotes that the cards that came from my brother's collection. That so for posterity's sake, I have as I pass them on to my kids or whatever, these were the cards that made up, part of my bro's collection. So they have that. But
Yeah, that'd be
anyway,
nice.
yeah, man, I have had an absolute blast talking to you tonight, Jeff. I really appreciate
Yeah,
you coming on. We're just
my
over an
pleasure.
hour, so I guess we better start wrapping it up, even though I don't want to. But for all you guys out there watching again, go check Jeff's channel out at A Fine Card Collector. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Thanks for hanging out with us. And Jeff, thanks for chatting some wax with me, man.
No, it was my pleasure. Anytime. Let's do it again.
Yeah. Yes, sir. We'll see you soon.
All right. See ya.